Okay, so without further ado, let me pass the baton to Jeff and to Kevin. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Rod.
Yeah, good morning, Rod, and good morning or good afternoon, everybody, depending on where you are. Jeff, maybe I'll take a little a start here and
go through the history.
Yeah, give it a little history. ONIT Science is just real quick, stands for Organic Natural Input Technologies. Our product is all natural, certified organic. We have several different products, but our main product, and it was really designed to take anything that you're trying to deliver into a plant and do it with greater efficiency. So we work with pesticides, we'll work with fungicides, we'll work with nutrients, we'll work with anything, your water, even your nutrients that are maybe existent in your soil, anything that you're trying to deliver into that plant. Our technology, our proprietary formulation delivers that product into the plant with greater efficiency. I won't get into too much science, but it does so by breaking down bonds. So any molecular bond or any long chain molecule, our product naturally breaks bonds and delivers or creates molecules basically down to nano and sometimes even pico size. That allows the product or anything you're trying to deliver into the plant to permeate the cellular wall. It's really spectacular. What's nice about our product is we kind of become a friend to anybody who has a product they're trying to deliver into the plant. We acquired this technology from a company that we had originally invested in as investors. And without getting into the details of the predecessor company, we had determined that due to lack of strong management and kind of a failure on their part to raise capital and do all the things necessary to build a company, we made a conscious decision to research this product in a little more detail. And when we had researched the product by shipping this product to scientists, to agronomists, to growers worldwide, we were literally astounded by the results. I mean, it was actually mind-boggling how a product so good had really escaped the world and their attention. So we made a conscious effort. It took us about a year to acquire the technology from the predecessor company, and that was probably about a year ago now, right, Jeff?
Yeah, a little over a year at this point.
Little over a year, and at that point we looked to mend fences with a lot of the relationships the predecessor company had, which took a while. There was a lot of damage. It's a crisis opportunity story, which was great for us. We took a crisis that we were actually invested in and turned it into an incredible opportunity. We pursued relationships that some were damaged, some were just left unattended, and really without a lot of effort had phenomenal success with each and every relationship. It was just a function of them knowing we were going to pay attention to them, focus on helping them with what they had already been working on. Jeff's going to take you through the relationships that existed that we've basically, I'll call, either repaired or have picked up from where they were left off, and where we're at with each of them, because it's pretty incredible. Just a couple of footnotes. There was probably about $7 to maybe $9 million invested in this technology by the predecessor company. It was valued at the time of acquisition at about a $30 million valuation. We picked it up for a license and royalty only, which was amazing for us. So we were really probably 3 to 5 years worth of effort, $7 to $9 million worth of capital investment into the technology, and really relationships that were started worldwide that were just left unattended to, that we picked up again for a royalty or a licensing fee. So we really ended up on the right side of the equation on this. Jeff's going to walk you through literally the global footprint that we now have. Some of it was created by us. Some of it was stuff that we picked up from the predecessor company, and where we're going with that. We're in a unique position because we're now going into revenues with a little less than a year's worth of efforts, where most companies to get where we're at today, if they started from scratch, would probably be a 3 to 5 year endeavor, maybe more.
Hey, but Kevin, you brought the valuation subject up. What's the valuation of the current round at this point, please?
We're at 19 million is the current valuation.
Pre-money?
Offerings at
And how much money are we raising?
10 million. It's a 506C Reg D offering. The current share price is 75 cents. So we've got about 25 million shares out at 75 cents. That's a 19 million market cap valuation at this point. So
Thank you. Thank you.
By the way, Rod, just to go quick, just expand on that a little bit. Companies in this space, proprietary formulations in the organic, all natural sector, sell anywhere from 3 times as high as 10 times revenues. And since we're in agriculture, to see a 5, 10, 20, $30 million orders is not only uncommon, but kind of the norm, because you're talking about food, feeding the world. We're in a multi-trillion-dollar industry.
So I have another question on that, which may be a bit unfair, but I'll ask it, which is, what is the size of the market? If they were all to buy the product, what would be the maximum size of the market at the prices that we're charging for the product?
well, the narrowest definition, the organic bio input technologies, is about a $2.5 billion market right now. It's growing at about 11 and change percent compound annual growth rate.
Okay, thank you. So now go ahead, Jeff. I interrupted you twice.
Sure. So I'm going to pick up where Kevin left off. It was an interesting story with the predecessor company. They were not interested in doing business domestically. So most of their efforts, most of the relationships they cultivated were outside of the US. And these are the ones that we're picking up where they left off, repairing those relationships. In some instances, engaging the same scientific and sales consultants that they used, since they were familiar with the products and had the relationships with the end users or with the universities testing the product. And I'll just kind of go by region and give you a little overview of what we're doing in each. So let's start close to home in Canada. We do have a subsidiary, ONIT Sciences Canada, and through that subsidiary, we're reaching, it's located in Vancouver, BC. We've got significant testing going on throughout BC into Saskatchewan and Manitoba. We currently have a group that operates, I'm going to say to me, they act like an NGO. They do nationwide gross domestic product boosting programs. Most of these are in developing countries, but they do have a program in place starting in Manitoba with the native peoples of Manitoba. So our product is under testing there. When we hit the benchmarks, it's an automatic PO with that group throughout Manitoba. It's hundreds of thousands of acres of land that they're dealing with, and that's just one instance of how we're capitalizing on these previous relationships. We've got a terrific distributor in Mexico. Kevin was instrumental in cultivating that relationship. That was not from the predecessor company, although we do have a sales director down there who was associated with the previous firm and knows the product very well, had tested it personally. He's actually a prize bull judge, which, as you can imagine, is a big deal in Mexico, and he grows his own fodder. So his original test was to use our product, ONIT Grow, which is a liquid formulation. You dilute it between 5 to 10 milliliters per gallon in water or in other nutrient solution and apply it to the crops. He saw spectacular results. The fodder grew much healthier, and he believes that the bulls that ate that specific fodder actually became healthier. He could see visible increases in the health of the animal secondarily from eating And that's really what we're talking about, right? We're talking about growing food for animals, food for people, crops that are going to be used to develop supplements, nutritional products. And that's really now more than ever with the current pandemic. People are really waking up to the benefits of healthy eating and healthy lifestyle. So we're a very, very timely, worldwide, a very, very timely product.
By the way, a footnote on Mexico. Our distributor down there covers the whole country. They're mainly educated in agronomy or plant science in one shape, form, or another. There's about 75 salespeople. They cover four corners of Mexico, basically. And interesting about Mexico, about in the Sinaloa region, for example, when I was down there, almost 90% of their products there are for export, and most of it to the U.S. And as the U.S. demand for organic grows, as Jeff said, it's over 10%. I think it's 11% annually. Their requirements from us down there are organic. So they have a huge interest. They've had phenomenal, by the way, they ran our product on peppers, chilies, potatoes, lentils, avocados, and some various fruits, strawberries, etc. And they had phenomenal results. So we're getting out of the testing phase now. We're getting very close to order phase. And we think it's just going to be very big. We don't know. It's hard to give you projections on those particular orders because they're in so many crops and they're kind of getting a read back on who's going to use what to grow in the very, very near future. But Mexico, very, very large growing region.
Yeah, absolutely.
The question, Jeff, for you, how is the product applied how is it applied?
Sure. So it's an extremely concentrated liquid. It's mixed with other liquids that you would put on the plant. Sometimes it's just irrigation, right? Plain water you can mix our product with. It can be used as a foliar spray. In most instances, that's the most effective application, is through some kind of foliar spraying system, but it can be used as a root drench. And in the same way that it breaks down the covalent bonds between molecules of nutrients, it does the same thing in the soil as well. So it has soil amendment properties as well. So there's certain cases where that might be beneficial for a farmer. And this is part of our services. We have advisory and consultative services that go along with the product.
Pardon me for interrupting your flow continually here. Could you discuss barriers to entry, IP and the competitive landscape?
Yeah, I'll speak to that a little bit, and Jeff, maybe you jump in.
Sure.
Our formulation is a proprietary formulation. It's almost all plant-based. Our manufacturers here in the U.S. It's a very specific way of actually creating the product, meaning it has to be, each ingredient has to be put in a specific order or it doesn't work. We're talking to law firms about patents and formulations, but sometimes you end up giving up too much on that. Right now we're under the protection with our manufacturer. We work with one manufacturer. We don't expect to be taking this formulation, delivering it anywhere else in the world. So we're very protected right now on this.
Right, just like Coca-Cola or WD-40, there's a lot of liquid formulations that just are not going to ever be patented because you'd have to achieve the protections that you're looking for. To Kevin's point, you'd have to give up too much of the secret sauce.
What's the competitive landscape?
What, you want to handle that, Kevin?
Yeah, sure. You can jump in.
Sure.
So this is an interesting product. We struggled with this in the very beginning ourselves when we were acquiring this. We looked worldwide, and we dealt with, and we've got some major scientists on our advisory board who've developed one of our scientists developed products for Scots. There's nothing like this in the world. That's a hard thing to say because as someone who's been funding or building companies 35 years, I'm not a believer in no competition. What I will say this is there are adjuvants, there's emulsifiers, there's wetting agents, there's products out there that have some properties of what we do, but there's not a formulation that has combined all the things we do for a plant in one product. So it's really interesting that way. And I don't know if you want to add to that, Jeff. It's, again,
Well,
I have
I
a
think
hard
that-
time. I choke on
yeah.
saying there's no
I
competition.
know it's tough, but you know, we really do look hard at the competitive landscape to find somebody who's you know, neck and neck with us. One of the things is our product ONIT Grow does so many things in a single bottle so that's you would have to use several other products, maybe not organic, to get the same results or same benefits. The other thing is it was designed, as Kevin said, as an adjuvant, an add-on to whatever protocol you're feeding that plant. So if you have a certain NPK schedule, you're using microbials, you're using an organic fungicide, for instance, you mix that all in a big batch and spray your crops. You put a little bit of our product in with that, and you get tremendous benefit. It delivers those other products so much more efficiently, and the plant health is increased, and productivity is increased, pest resistance is increased. So it's, you know, as far as we know, it's tough to say, but it's a little bit of a unicorn right now. Will somebody catch up with us? Maybe. In the meantime, we're just making a run at the market as hard and fast as we can.
Yeah.
Okay, there's some more questions, but I want to let you get into your flow, Jeff.
Sure. Well, I can just touch on the regions where we're active really quickly. We have a director of Asia Pacific sales. His name's Manfred von Norstritz. He is the former Canadian ambassador to Thailand, Laos, Myanmar, and Pakistan, and High Commissioner to Malaysia and Brunei. He has absolute top level connections throughout that whole region. And he had been in discussions with different ag departments at universities in the region, with in-use customers, fertilizer manufacturer, second largest fertilizer manufacturer in Vietnam. He's got a huge footprint. He's very familiar with the product. He came from the predecessor company where he was an advisor. And once COVID lightens up a little bit, because some of those countries are doing okay, some of them not at all. He's in Kuala Lumpur. And his hands are tied as far as travel right now. But once he gets back in the saddle, we're going to open that region up in a huge way. We've got an import certificate in Cuba. We've got a Cuban distributor. This was a predecessor relationship that we've revitalized. We had to jump through some hoops with the Ministry of Agriculture down there. And we got that all squared away. So we're expecting our first order from Cuba. They've tested us on rice, on gladiolas, on tobacco. I know there were a couple other.
But by the way, with Cuba, our yield increase on their rice production was almost 40%. Utilize our product.
Right, and I heard from Ernesto that our water savings on tobacco was close to 80%, which is nuts.
Yeah.
So there are a string of benefits that we provide, and it's not, you know, it's different in each case, in each region, in each crop, but it's an extremely effective product.
By the way, that country will be addressed through ONIT Canada, our division in ONIT Canada. So
Right,
just because of
the agreement is through ONIT Canada.
We do have the availability to work with Cuba through the EAR 99 because it's agriculture.
Right, right. We actually just signed a rep in India. She's a Canadian lobbyist, to be frank, but she has direct connections to the Prime Minister. She came from the predecessor company as well. Her relationships with ag ministers in various states in India is really strong. She's worked with, I can't remember which university there when they did the first round of product testing. I should have had that written down, but I don't. But she just signed with us last week. We're going to go full steam in India. She's got those relationships queued up and ready to go. The product is a known commodity there. And I will say 7 of the states in India have mandated organic protocols for agriculture. They're not taking, and this is something that you'll see all over the world. Various countries are standing up against big chemical ag companies and saying no more. It's too destructive to our ecology and to our economy
But
eventually.
by the way, to Jeff's point, and on India, our testing was in Bangladesh. It was on rice. Again, almost a 40% increase in yield, as well as plant health increases, et cetera. But one of the things that's happening in countries like Vietnam, Myanmar, we're very close to doing some very, very big things in Myanmar as a result of the predecessor company again started some business there and then kind of left it high and dry. But smaller ecosystems can't handle the pesticides, the chemical agricultural products. In some of these countries, you have one waterway that people drink from or live from and also have to use for irrigation. And when you bombard those smaller ecosystems with the chemicals, without mentioning any of the big company names, we've seen a lot of them in the news that are getting banned now. Their ecosystem can't handle it. They're just not large enough, and it causes incredible damage, not only to the land but to the people that are living there from a health standpoint. And they can't absorb that type of monetary or eco financial disaster.
You know, one side benefit of our global growth plans is that it's a built-in hedge. You know, we can shift focus to regions where crops are fetching a higher dollar amount, or shift according to weather patterns. So from a business continuity perspective, it's very important for us to just not be a local or regional player. You know, I can go through some of the other areas that we're in. There's work to be done in Colombia, in particular, in Brazil. There were some predecessor relationships we need to pick up on. Kevin mentioned Myanmar. We've got an import certificate in Myanmar. Manfred's got to get over there and light that distributor back up. That was, I believe, a $3.5–4 million initial order waiting for us there.
Yeah, Myanmar is interesting because, again, the predecessor company did a lot of work there and had some phenomenal results and great yield increases again, and kind of left it high and dry. So that one took us a while. I was actually going to be on a plane to Myanmar in the March time frame, and everyone put the stop sign up, so I stopped flying. One of our most exciting, Jeff, you don't mind if I go into it on China. One of our most exciting opportunities staring us in the face, and by the way, we're going to get to the U.S. in a minute. We're not ignoring our backyard, of course, because the question would be, why are you spending money and time fetching all over the globe when you live in one of the greatest growing states in the U.S. But China, we have two groups that have approached us that have tried our product. Ironically, the product was used initially on hemp, and China's government is now getting into hemp and wants to be the largest producer of CBD in the world. We eradicated a problem they were having. They were having a problem with spider mites. Utilized our product because of our input ability into the leaf. We were able to drive product to the underside where your spider mites live and basically eradicated their spider mite problem. They were elated. They now want to not only invest in us, but distribute our product throughout all of China. The one group that wants to distribute our product and is interested in taking us is actually an agricultural, well, they're a fertilizer manufacturing company who's very familiar with products that have input ability or have adjuvant or wetting agent type of abilities. So incredibly exciting. They do very, very large business in China. Simultaneously, we have another group that's approached us who's I guess I shouldn't get into their industry because of disclosure reasons, but just an enormous industry that they're involved in already. And they want to take us through the country and work from the top down with the government to actually set, and the universities, actually set organic protocols or standards for their country. This gentleman has that type of power in China. He's at the top 300 family level. So that would involve an investment, minimum order, a pretty sizable order. And China, as you know, is a very, very large country with a lot of areas of their country now going organic because they are having a ecosystem disasters in regions throughout all of China just because of ignoring anything and everything for decades. So that's incredibly exciting for us. It'll result in some really big business ultimately. Our backyard, Jeff, why don't you talk about the two gentlemen
Sure.
we just brought on?
Yeah.
Both, you know, big names in the organic space for decades.
I have a question. I have a question I want to add, which is
Sure.
cash flow situation. Is there a burn rate? What level of what's that situation as of right now?
That's probably one of the best parts of our company.
Yeah, we're happy to answer that.
We're happy to answer that. We've, you know, this will change as we go into revenues, but up till now, we've maintained an incredibly low burn. We have a lot of people on board the company for equity participation in lieu of salaries. So we're not, you know, nobody in here is drawing big salaries. This is not about, you know, living off of the investors' money, but rather going as far as we can and as little as we can. That's probably not the best way to put it, but using as little capital as possible to get to revenues. We're now at the revenue stage. The burn will change, of course. You're going to have people to support the sales, and that requires staff that will, you know, the type of employees are not going to be able to take equity in lieu of a monthly salary or weekly salary. But we've done a lot for a little, a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah, so let's look at the U.S. We've got two gentlemen who are our chief scientific advisor, Lynn Griffith Jr. is a nationally recognized agronomist. He's a specialist in ornamental and turf. He also does farm consulting. His resume is filled with big names that you might recognize. He was in charge of the turf for the Miami Dolphins, for the Smithsonian, for Buckingham Palace, for many of Trump's properties, for Walt Disney World. The list goes on. He was an advisor to the predecessor company. He was part of their roadshow team to Southeast Asia. He knows this product probably better than we do from a scientific or agricultural side. And he is just adamant about the success of ONIT Sciences. He's a fantastic resource for us. He's making introductions for us right now to potential acquisition partners, which we can touch on a little bit later. In addition to Lynn, we just brought on board a gentleman.
Yeah, pardon me interrupting to clarify. When you say acquisition partners, you mean targets that
Targets.
Acquisition targets, yeah.
Targets, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the second person who's helping us with the U.S. Part of our business plan is Jim Brosh. He's our national sales director. He was the #1 name that came up from our manufacturer. We asked our manufacturer who's the top guy out here for organics, and they said, Jim, you've got to get Jim. So he spoke with our manufacturer, came up to speed with our product. He knows Lynn. They discussed it, and he agreed to come on board. He has us in trials with the University of Florida through a private group called Glades Crop for a tomato trial right now. He's got samples out to his book of business. I believe that we're very close to signing with a major, the top organics distributor in California, which is one of his close customers. So he's been a tremendous asset to us and is really going to drive growth domestically.
I have a question that's come up in the stream here, which is, you know, this sounds like a really compelling company. So why the hell did the other guy screw it up? What was the
Great.
Kevin was closer to that than I was, so
What was
he can
it?
take that one.
Okay, you see me smiling. I wasn't smiling then. The other company, with all due respect to anybody who's a scientist on this call, was run by scientists. The company was publicly traded. They probably should not have been. Nobody within the company had any public company background or experience, and just quite honestly, funds were really put in the wrong places. I don't want to accuse them of misappropriation, just poor decision making on where funds went. For example, they went to, and this is just one example, and I'll stop there. I don't want to belabor the point. And remember, I and other gentlemen were investors in this company. So we looked at this, also the way you would look at this, scratching your head. But they went to Asia to sign up some distribution, Myanmar and some other places. They had an incredible audience of probably about almost 100 people from all over the Asia, the Vietnam, Myanmar, China, Japan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They had spent, I think that trip cost them $150,000. That's a $10,000 trip. Okay. That's my example. I could go through a lot of those. Again, crisis opportunity. As they ran out of funding and came to us for more, we had a decision to make. Do we support this, help restructure the company with them willing, or do we look at, acquiring this technology? And the decision really came down to acquiring the technology. Some companies sometimes are beyond help, and I think that's
probably. Well, it was a soft landing for their shareholders. Is really the net result of that effort.
That's right.
Thank you. So then, I don't know, Jeff, have you finished, or because there are other questions from the audience?
Yeah, let's hear from the audience, and maybe they're tired.
One of the questions is, are we getting pushed back politically or otherwise, like big ag, or are we okay with that?
Well, as an organic company, we have very little resistance. In fact, other ministries of agriculture outside of the U.S. are actively looking for companies like ours and evaluating companies like ours. We're being looked at not just at the distributor or consumer level, but by these government agencies. So to answer your question, we have very little resistance politically. In fact, quite the opposite. We have not had any issue with other ag companies. The other input companies, ag companies we've dealt with, we view as partners, or since we are an add-on product, if you will.
The organic movement is global, or all natural, and it doesn't even have to be certified organic. All natural. Once we explain that we're a plant-based product, in many places the certification, they don't go through the process. What we found is, if you're certified here in the U.S., by the way, I think we're certified in 42 states, Jeff.
Yeah.
Or more.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
And, we comply with the USDA guidelines for a registered organic input. That was certified through Washington State Department of Ag, which is one of 3 organizations that the USDA allows to assign that certification. And we're just now waiting to hear back from California, because that's going to be our biggest organics customer domestically.
And we're about 90% of the way through, and each state you file separately for organic. And once you're registered organic or certified organic, you just maintain your filing every year, and it's not that expensive. I think some state, they all vary, but $100, $150, $300.
Yeah,
it's not. It's
a double-barrel question, really. One is, what's the story so far on the high-value crop like cannabis specifically? Because in the US and elsewhere, that's a fast-growing field.
Yeah. Well, okay. So we've had a lot of testing very early on in the cannabis space and the hemp space. with phenomenal results, because high value crops, you know, a 30% increase in yield on cannabis, for example, like one plant. I'm just giving an example of what we've, you know.
Well, yeah, I can, you know, this is easy.
Yeah.
We've got one customer in Oregon. He's a master grower. He's been using our product for over a year. He spends $2 per plant, and his increase in yield, just the delta, the increase in yield is worth $195.
Wow.
Right.
So that's in real simple terms, a single plant. How much does it cost? What do I get out of it? Right.
Yeah. And by the way, if you think about it, one plant typically will give you about a quarter pound of yield, and it just depends on price per pound in that region. But if you create 30% increase, you know, you're creating another $45 at 2,000, 45 pounds at 2,000 a pound, you know, or not 45 pounds, but 45, another 30 to 45%, 45% increase on the price. So the numbers go crazy. I get excited when I talk about it.
Yeah, it's really, you know, we did a little internal ROI study on hemp and cannabis and couldn't believe the numbers, but they're substantiated. I mean, the people who use our product and test it on those plants swear by it. Up to 40% increase. I'd say 25 to 40% increase in yield, and it's just a phenomenal product. It's a much higher quality than something that's using normal input protocols.
By the way, one of the things that's very, very, very important for everyone on the call to understand, we never ask anyone to change their growing protocol. We never ask them to get rid or to change their nutrient or their fertilizer or their biocide or their pesticide. All we do is ask them to utilize our product in conjunction with their current feeding curriculum. And I'll tell you why that's important. Go ask a farmer to change his whole protocol after he spent years dialing it in. It's not going to happen. Remember what our product does. It's a friend to everything, to every product. Whatever it is you're trying to get into the plant, we help it get into that plant with more efficiency. So if it's a pesticide and you're trying to deliver that into the leaf so it has more efficacy, stays there longer, and gives you that more sustained pest resistance, we do that. If it's a nutrient that's in the soil, we deliver our product into the soil with water or the nutrient mix. And by the way, they end up using less water. They end up using less nutrient because we create efficiencies. So we're a friend to all companies. We really don't pose a competitive scenario with any of these companies. So we really don't, it's not obtrusive to a farmer, because they look at us like, okay, just add it to what I'm doing. That's not a hard thing to ask someone to do.
So two follow-up questions. One is one of the people in the audience, and perhaps others, would like to know how to get their hands on a test to sample, a sample to test.
Sure.
Sure, we can do that.
They can contact us, and we're happy to provide samples.
So please, somebody put your emails in the chat section so they can be grabbed by our viewers. Obviously, the offering page on Manhattan Street Capital has a contact place there where you can reach out to the guys directly anyhow. Second point is this question. I'm not sure I understand all of the nuances here, but how does your product impact users that are using hydroponics, aquaponics, aeroponics, or other environmentally contained growing? I suppose a lot of that's indoor stuff.
Sure. Kevin, you want to address that?
Yeah. So again, really, it's not, however you're growing, and in whatever form, whether you're a drip, root trench, foliar feeding, hydroponics, etc., we're agnostic to that. You add us to if it's hydroponics, the water, and again, we'd have to look at how many gallons are circulating, and that becomes a whole separate discussion, and we'd like to have that offline. But we can work with hydroponics, we can work with aquaponics, we can work with drip feed, we can work with foliar feed. Matter of fact, interestingly enough, we found in the cannabis space, it seems like most people are doing a combo of drip feed in the soil or soil root trench and foliar feed. but a lot of foliar feeding, and we do unbelievable with the foliar feed, feeding the plant from its, by spraying leaf and allowing that to absorb top down. So, just give us a call. That's kind of an offline discussion, but yes, we can address all that.
So a couple more items. There's been a request for the cap table, which is kind of hard to display in this context. So
I can talk through it. Yeah, I mean, I can just do a high level on the cap table.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we recently had a 2-for-1 stock split. So right now there's approximately 25 million shares issued and outstanding, and we only have one class of stock. It's all common stock. So when I say stock, it's all one thing. About 11 million of that is held by founders and insiders. We had a convertible note round and some early family and friends investors that came in for about 7 million. And then a recent, the convertible note round was 4 million, and then about 3 million shares in a recent Reg D 506C that preceded this one.
Mm-hmm.
So about 25 million all out.
Okay, thank you. So then use of proceeds is to scale the business in marketing and sales, I surmise, from what we've been discussing.
Scale business, marketing, and sales. We have several acquisition targets that we're now taking a look at. And there's going to be a lot of support for each and every country as orders come in. So we really want to put people sort of feet on the street in each location or each country, which is very important. And there's a couple other products that we're from our, that we're working with on our manufacturer. It's not going to cost a lot. It's not heavy R&D, but there'll be a little bit of expense in getting products out, shipping it, testing it, having people try it, getting the yields, getting the results. In this space, you don't launch, you kind of distribute product quite a bit for free, for a little time to make sure you're getting the results on each and every crop and each and every time, or what crops it really works on. So, there's a cost associated with that.
Are you planning to keep the share price fixed for this raise or to change it?
Well, that is one of the interesting things about the Reg D 506C offering we have in front of everybody right now. It came out at 70 cents. We had some good news and pushed the price and valuation up. We're at 75 cents right now. We can certainly scale that up as, we lock in one or both of these deals in China. I feel that would affect our valuation, and therefore we would possibly consider raising the stock price.
I'll throw on to that. With the orders that we believe we have forthcoming, and at least 3 of the countries we mentioned, without a doubt, our CEO and our board, who's got a lot of finance background, have stated we're taking this valuation up. China is going to be very, very large for us. Myanmar has orders forthcoming. Cuba's, I don't want to say any day because you never know, but we've been expecting an order for a little bit now. And now Canada coming on board, and then this distributor out of California. Again, we're in agriculture. One order can take you to $100 million valuation on this company easily.
So then somebody's asked how many authorized shares are there, which I find an amusing question, just because it's a very specialized question, really. But,
it's 100 million. Yeah, 100 million authorized.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we're getting close to the end of the discussion here. I'm not seeing too many new questions and follow-ups, obviously. Anything else you guys would like to cover before we wrap?
I would just like to re-emphasize that organics is on a tear right now. It's of critical importance to the health and wellness of everybody in the world, to the ecology, especially these smaller countries where they can't absorb the chemicals as readily. But even in China, even in the US, we've got tremendous problems with our soil health. because of the continued use of chemical products. And I think that's going away. I think it's a big shift in the industry. We've got to shift away from, eventually get off the fossil fuel train. It's the same kind of thing. It's an evolutionary process. We need to do things differently.
As an investor, I would look at it this way. I'd walk through the grocery. We've all seen Whole Foods, Sprouts, all the, if you're out here on the East Coast, it's other grocery going more and more blowing up in a positive way on a sales revenue store count size. Walk through the stores, take a real look at wording like all natural, made with all natural, organic, made with organic. And go study products. And then what I would do is look at it and go, how do I participate in this explosion? And yeah, you can invest in Whole Foods, which I think now owned by Amazon. And you can look at, maybe Sprouts. I don't know if they're public, but maybe they go public. But how do you really invest in the organic explosion? And by the way, if you look at organic, that becomes the other part of another explosion, which is personalized health. People taking health into their own hands. And we're seeing more and more of that now today as a result of COVID. So go backwards. How do you get there? Growing organic. How do you get there? You've got to have a product that can deliver the yield and the healthy plant that you're getting from GMO or traditional farming, meaning, one plant, tomato plant gives you the 3 pounds that you would expect, but organically. And that's what we do.
Yeah.
So we're a play on health. We're a play on the explosion in organic. We're a play on even personalized health.
There was a question I didn't get to ask you guys, which was, can people buy the product to use in their garden?
We're focusing on commercial application on large scale farming operations first. We're considering the possibility of white label partners who would take our product through retail distribution for home gardeners in that kind of in use. But right now our focus, with such a small team, we have to be elephant hunters right now. And just to add on to what Kevin was saying about the market opportunity, it's such an important market, and it's such a strong growth phase right now. And you can look all day long and not find a small, agile, growing company with a very modest valuation where you can get in for a reasonable amount and participate in this huge growth sector. It's just really tough to find. You can find tech deals all day, but if you like ag, what are you going to do? That's
good. There's a question about the company being private. Yes, it is private.
Yes.
So this is a Reg D 506C offering into a privately held company. Any other questions? I think not. We're wrapping up here.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for taking
showing
time
up here, and thanks to Kevin and Jeff. Great presentation. Really appreciate it. Thanks to the audience for showing up. Hopefully you found this worthwhile and informative. And I can tell you by experience that Kevin and Jeff are very available and happy to talk with you, whether it's testing and experimentation or investing to learn more about the company. So Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Take care, guys. Have a happy holiday. Bye-bye.
Happy holidays, yeah. Cheers.